Many students and their parents come to me, and even though these days there are hundreds of books, articles, materials on the web, lots of opinions, it seems like still people are missing the core or the most important thing that the Common Essay is about. First of all, let's take a step back, see and determine what is the place of the essay in the CommonApp application, which in itself, of course, is a very stressful and time-consuming endeavor to fill out the CommonApp application. And I think that also adds to the hype and to the tension around writing your essay. Of course, your grades in school, your GPA, as well as your scores in the standardized tests such as SAT, ACT, SAT subject tests, AP classes, summer programs that you have taken in some prestigious, preferably American universities. Those are a very important part of your application, especially if you're a STEM student, if you're a student applying for sciences, computer science, engineering, your grades are extremely important. Of course, this year and next year, some universities are making standardized tests optional, but this actually makes your job tougher rather than easier, because then you will have to stand out in other ways, namely through your extracurricular activities and through your essays. So the tests, your scores, your grades are extremely important, of course. However, if you imagine the academic readers just going through application after application, and it's only like numbers, this student got 1500, that student got 1500, that student got 1510, how are you going to distinguish among the students? So the second thing that comes, of course, is the extracurricular activities. However, extracurricular activities, there are also a bunch of projects on a list. So again, the application has a list of things that you have done. Maybe you've been on a sports team, you've participated in some Olympiad or in some physics competition, maybe you have some job experience and so on. Nevertheless, this list of activities is more like a resume, like a CV, as if you're applying for a job. So also from the CV, the admissions officers can get some idea about who you are, but ultimately, because it's so short and because it's in a list format, they cannot really grasp your personality in its entirety, which is why in the job process we have interviews, right? So you go to an interview for an hour and a half, or even a second, a third one, so that your potential employers can get a good sense of who you are, how you behave, how you talk, how you think, do they like your vibe, and so on and so on and so on. Instead of such interviews, even though you do have an interview sometimes in the admissions process, but it does not have such a weight. So instead of those interviews, in the admissions process, we have the essays, the CommonApp essay plus supplemental essays. These essays are incredibly important. They're like the same as a job interview during a job application process. What are the essays? The essays give you, the admissions officers, a unique and personal glimpse into who you are, into your personality. Because your personality is something bigger than your grades and your scores on tests and a list of extracurricular activities. Not to mention that many students tick off extracurricular activities just because they know they will need them for the admission process. So your passion, your dedication cannot truly usually show that much in a list of activities. And then we get to the essays, which give the admissions officers an opportunity to really see who you are. What does this mean? It means that, let me first say again, most students today They read on the internet what the essay should be about, they read some books, and it's pretty much common knowledge that the essay should be on a topic that shows some challenges that you have overcome and so on, which is why probably the most popular topic in admissions essays today is the topic of moving as an immigrant from one country to the other. So, for example, if your parents moved from Pakistan to the United States and you are a second generation, so growing up and dealing with both cultures, or if you're an international student and let's say you've lived in Russia and now you're moving for school in the United States. And just in general, this topic about living in a few different places and having to deal with cultural, social challenges, educational challenges, is one of the most popular topics in CommonApp essays in general. Another very popular topic is participating in some sports competition, for example, and having to overcome the difficulties, having to deal with loss, having to deal with the need for persistence in order to practice for many hours under the rain and so on. This seems to be another very popular topic. The point is that there seems to be some topics that are very popular and the student think that they should write about that. Nothing can be further from the truth. The only thing that you should write about is something that is very personal to you, something that matters to you, something that you're passionate about. It could be homeless animals and working in a shelter. It could be a vacation in Peru, which for whatever reason made you think about some philosophical questions about life. It could be about the fact that you are endlessly curious, and the essay can give us examples of how you ask questions around the dinner table, but also the moment you go on a vacation somewhere, you immediately start asking questions from the people in the hotel, getting to know their culture. So this is a personality trait, being very curious and intellectually curious, and you write about that. Or I had a student who got into a top college, into a top 20 school, writing about overcoming his addiction to video games and what this addiction was rooted in and what he learned from it. I have had students writing about the death of a relative who was very significant to them, about psychology. There have been, of course, students who wrote about competitions and moving from one place to the other, and those students also got into top Ivy League schools. But I've also had students getting into top schools with totally different topics that are unique to them. If you try to write on one of these popular topics because you know it's a good topic, it is very likely that your essay is not going to be effective because your heart is not in it. Which is why it is good if parents are trying to help the students, their children, by suggesting maybe some topics, maybe brainstorming some things with them. The danger is that usually the parent doesn't really know what the student in their heart is truly passionate about. Because again, the essay is something that is deeply personal. Therefore, in my opinion, it is better if the student works with either by themselves or with an experienced professional on the essay, as opposed to taking too much advice from parents, older siblings who already got into college, or family members like cousins, or the husband of an older sister, for example, who got into college and so on. Getting advice from relatives can be very tricky. Even though, of course, it is often advised that once you write the essay, you can give it to people you know, to somebody you trust for an opinion. But when the student is coming up with the topic, it is much more important and much better that the student works with a set of targeted questions that will help them realize and figure out what are the passions that they have something deep to share about, what are the topics that would really reflect their personality in a very deep way that the student resonates with and cares about. Therefore, even though so much is written on the CommonApp essays, there is this one simple thing that you have to take out of all that information. You have to be honest and you have to be authentic. And trust me, the admission readers will be able to tell if you're honest and authentic, because they are reading hundreds, if not thousands, of essays. These are usually people like myself who are educated in the humanities. They have read hundreds and thousands of books. They can see and feel, and they have high intuition about every single sentence, whether that sentence is really authentic or whether the author is just saying things in order to impress them. Do not try to impress the admissions readers with your writing. Be honest and be truthful, and that is the one sure ticket to a successful essay. Which is also why I don't particularly recommend that students read essay after essay after essay of already admitted candidates. Reading a few essays is okay, but what usually happens is that students start reading essays by other people and they start to freak out because they tell themselves, oh my god, this essay is so amazing, language is so great, the story, I don't have a story like this where this person grew up on the streets or their father passed away and they had to work and take care of the whole family. How am I going to compete with such a story? No. You have to write your story, regardless of whether you overcame big challenges or not. You have a story. You have something that you're passionate about. You have some talents. You have some experiences that shaped you in some kind of way, more profound or less profound. And these are the things that you have to write about. So looking too much at what others are doing can do you a disservice. As well as parents trying too much to participate in the essay writing process also can do the student a disservice. I have compiled lists of incredibly important questions for students to figure out, get to the core of their passions and their most profound experiences. And also I conduct a number of very deep conversations with the student, having an academic, a literary, and a psychological background in order to get the best out of the student and help them to express their voice in the most authentic and honest way, but at the same time help them express it in a coherent, clear, and persuasive manner. And in my opinion, this is the best help that a student can get on writing the essay if in themselves they're not clear on what to write about. Of course, if the student has a lot of self-awareness, if the student is very, very good at writing, they can also handle the essay by themselves. But again, the most important question to ask yourself is, am I 100% authentic in this essay? And does this essay 100% reflect who I am, what I care about and what I'm passionate about. Thank you.